Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the channel! In today's video, we're taking a look at the Zoids Sonic Bird Laeus from Takara Tomy. This kit was released in July of 2024, and at that time it costed me 5,460 yen from HobbyLink Japan. Yeah, the price has gone up a little bit. This kit, alongside the Beast Liger Magai, are special unique kits celebrating the 40th anniversary of Zoids through a collaboration with Monster Hunter, who's also celebrating its 20th anniversary. The Laeus is a combination between the Zoids Sonic Bird and Monster Hunter's Rathalos. Never played Monster Hunters, but I absolutely love the designs of the weapons and the monsters in that game. So seeing as how Zoids is having collaborations with Monster Hunters, I had to get these kits. So let's start the review, beginning with the box. And my god, that box art is absolutely beautiful. We got Laeus over here challenging Rathalos. Would definitely make a very good looking poster. The collab is starting off pretty strong. On this side of the box, we got an image of the kit without any armor, as well as some gimmicks and extras that come with the kit. Spoiler alert, there's quite a bit. On the back of the box, we got a lot of text in Japanese, so feel free to pause and read it. But essentially, this giant blurb over here is stating that monsters have invaded Earth, and they're going to use Zoids to hunt the monsters. On the bottom here, we got some images and some more text describing the stats for the Zoids, as well as some detailed descriptions on certain parts. And that's it for the box. Let's take a look at the kit itself. Before putting on the armor bits, you are left with the frame of the Sonic Bird. And throughout the whole build, all the parts are separated into little baggies, no clipping off runners for this kit, so it's going to be pretty easy and quick to build. And remember, it is a motorized kit, so you'll be starting the build with the motor. And to power it, you're going to need one AAA battery, unfortunately, battery not included. And halfway through the build, gotta show you this before the end result, just so you're not missing out on the inner frame, which has a very cool looking design, mixing in organic and machine attributes. And though the kit is not made up of many pieces, there's still a decent amount of surface level detail found throughout the whole skeleton. And with the only issue I see being made up of larger parts, there isn't much colored part separation. Using the leg as an example, you can see a lot of mechanic elements and details, but it won't be as noticeable because everything's in the same color, so a good paint job is definitely recommended. But at least it's not the case for the whole kit. The top part of the spine and tail are at least made of two different colors, with the orange sticking out quite a bit, and we got a little bit of that going on with the foot as well, tipped with some nice black claws. And if you decide to not paint it, at least a lot of it will still be covered up by some colored armor. And before I put those pieces on, here's what it looks like. As you can see, some parts are already pre-painted, and zooming in, the paint job looks pretty good. But let's finish up this build and put it on the kit and get a better look. So here we got the completed straight build of the Sonic Bird Laeus. I did not panel line it or apply any stickers, of which there isn't much, but the designs for the stickers is very cool, reminiscent of how Monster Hunter does their monster icons. And if you didn't know, this is mostly a recolor of the Sonic Bird with a little bit of extras. Unfortunately, I don't have a normal Sonic Bird to compare this to, but using the power of Google, we can see that the normal Sonic Bird looks pretty much identical, but that makes sense because it is using the same frame, but the extra pieces and Rathalos' color scheme makes the Laeus look unique in its own right. The red armor pieces does have a good amount of textured detail molded onto the pieces, especially on the wings, which would be really good for panel lining. And I'm pretty impressed with the black paint job found throughout the kit. The lines are very straight and I don't see any overpainting where the black leaks onto the red parts, which looks like they masked off the areas when they painted it. Regardless of how it was done, they did a great job. And as stated earlier, I did like the inner frame design. Now fully completed, it looks even better. More organic than mechanical now, though it still doesn't have much colored part separation. The parts do come pre-painted, adding a lot more color to the kit, contrasting very well, with an eye-catching color palette, combined with an aggressive looking aesthetic. Visually, I can't fault this kit, it looks absolutely badass. Well, maybe aside from those hollowed guns. Common thing for Takara Tomy kits. With aesthetics out of the way, let's take a look at the articulation, and because it is a motorized kit, don't expect much. Beginning with the head, the only movable part is the jaws. Being able to open and close, this also affects the eyes moving back and forward, as does a part of the neck. And judging from the position the rider is in, on the back of the neck, I do not think this is comfortable. So for the rest of the body and the legs, there isn't much articulation. Any type of movement will involve turning on the motor. But that doesn't mean zero articulation. This piece up here is able to move up and down, but that's not crazy or anything. The real important part are the wings themselves. As you can see, they are able to rotate forward and back, coinciding when the motor is on. The base of the wings are able to fold down, with certain parts actually being able to lock into position. And here's a clearer shot on that rotation of the wings as shown earlier. There's 2 points of articulation here, the base of the wings and the piece that sticks between the wings and the body. That allows extension and further rotation of the wings. Moving along, the end part of the wings is able to rotate, almost 360 if not getting stuck with the other parts. But the range of motion allows you to position it a variety of different ways. This black piece is also able to 360, and there it goes. Don't worry, it's not a defective or loose part, it's just that constant play will make it fall off. Cool thing about Takara Tomy kits are a lot of their kits do share the same peg and sockets. This includes the weapons as well, meaning you can position these in a variety of different ways. I'll show you that later on. And if you're wondering the purpose of folding in the wings, it helps to reduce the space that it takes up, and also it allows balance when the kit walks. Or well, balance in general. Because depending on how the legs are positioned, those giant wings does offset its balance. While having this big ass tail doesn't help either. And for the articulation for this big ass tail, it's able to move up and down. These thrusters on the side of the tip of the tail is able to rotate ever so slightly. And of course with too much constant movement, it'll dislodge the piece. This cannon piece up top has two hinge joints, one at the bottom and one at the top, allowing it to move up and down. It's also attached to with a peg and socket, giving it 360 range of motion, but of course constant movement falls off. The protruding blades on the underside of that piece are also attached with a peg and socket joint, allowing some minimal rotation. That's pretty much it for articulation. Nothing much because it is a motorized kit, it is quite limited. But cool thing about this kit is it does have a lot of interchangeable extras and accessories, in which you're able to position them in a variety of different ways, so that's going to be pretty fun. So individually, this is what they all look like, of which it does come with quite a bit. And remember what I said about those peg and sockets found throughout the kit. They're actually able to be fitted on with all these extra bits. But first let's take a look at each individual part, starting with the cannons. Quite a large weapon and it comes in pairs. It's quite well molded with a lot of details, at least from this side, because flipping it over... Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, hollow. Seems like Takara Tomy just likes to forget the other side of the part. But hey, the barrel has a hinge that's able to flip down, giving it two barrels, I guess? Still pretty cool because you change up the whole look of the weapon. And interestingly enough, this gives you two holes for the two pegs on the back of the cannons to actually attach to one another, for if you ever want to make a giant beam cannon thing. In addition, we're also given C10, 11, 13, and 12. This will be used to sandwich those large blades that usually sit at the end of the wings. It's just another attachment piece, but I'm not entirely sure why it was included. You could theoretically do this already if you attach it onto the wings, but whatever. Even those pieces have some detail molded onto them, so this kit is pretty good with that. No dull, boring pieces here. Next up, we also got those thrusters and that giant cannon that usually sits on the back of the tail. The combination of the quad cannons with the pincer bits are pretty excessive, but it still looks pretty cool. And then lastly, we got the two thrusters. One solid piece of plastic, but still nicely designed nonetheless. And now we come to the modular function of all these pieces. I'm not going to be showing all the variations you could possibly do with this, but yeah, just use your imagination. You got many ways of positioning all these weapons, just because the kit has a lot of pegs throughout its body. So many options and variations you could just make. And with the amount of extras and accessories they give you, this becomes pretty fun. And if you have any other Zoids Wild kit from Takara Tomy, the parts are actually interchangeable, so you can just slap those on as well. Also, because it is a Zoids Wild kit, it has a rider. Not a pilot, just a jockey. I know it's because of the scale, but not a fan of these. I prefer a miniature pilot and a cockpit. And of course this kit comes with an extra function, the fact that it does have a motor, meaning it can actually move. Unfortunately, battery's not included. You're going to need a AAA battery, and the battery housing sits right underneath the belly, and you will require a small Phillips head screwdriver. Make sure you actually screw it tightly, because if not, the battery sits kind of loose and the motor might not function properly. Once that's done, to turn on the motor, there's an on and off switch sitting at the base of the tail. And hold your horses, because this thing's going to fly. Moving at the speed of your 90-year-old grandma, this has got the top speed of at least one slug. And the balance of a drunk person. Yeah, the motor is a little loud and it walks kind of funny, but it works nonetheless, just not that great. And I'm just holding it now so you can see all the moving parts when you turn on the motor. And remember when I said it was uncomfortable to ride this? The rider is literally bashing his head off the Laeus' head. And when the wings are folded up, the Laeus has a much easier time walking. Cool gimmick, but if you're just like me, you're not going to play around with the motor anyways. Moving along, let's give it a shake and see how durable it is. And as expected, modern day Takara Tomy kits are very solid. The main body held up without any issues, with some of the weapon pieces being the only things that fell off. Makes sense considering this is still a children's toy. And if you're curious about the size, full wingspan is 18 inches, or 45.72 centimeters. So if you want to display with a full wingspan, you're going to need a lot of space. Alternatively, you can fold up the wings and it would be 7 inches, or 17.78 centimeters. For height, it stands around 5.5 inches, or 13.97 centimeters. With a length of 11 inches, or 27.94 centimeters. Now for size comparison, here is next to the entry grade Arc 78-2, master grade Arc 78-2, the high master model Genosaur, which is actually pretty similar in scale, not being too big or too small compared to normal size high master model Zoids. And a similar size to the Beast Liger Magai, which was also released simultaneously with this kit for that Monster Hunter collab. Then we got Haro, Doraemon, DK, an Invicta Tactical Warsuit, some delicious Tide Pods, a water gun, and a rubber ducky. And as shown earlier, with the wings open, I cannot possibly display it because it just takes up too much space. Yeah, it's kind of an awkward size, so this is the best way for me to display it. With the size and color, it does make it eye-catching, so it's got a pretty good shelf presence. Would be better if I could display with open wings. So it concludes my review for the Sonic Bird Laeus. What are my final thoughts? Visually, I think this is a great looking kit. Of course, you could always do extras to it, slap on some paint and some panel lining and bring out some more details, but as a straight build, it looks pretty good. Love the color scheme, paint job is very well done, the molded on details look very nice, a lot of lines to panel line, with the only issue I have are the hollow pieces, such as for the weapons and legs. And though the inner frame is covered up, it's also a very cool design that could get easily forgotten, but at least you get to see it as you're building the kit. And speaking of build, it's an incredibly easy build, no need to cut or clip parts off of runners, and with not having that many parts, it's a very quick build, and I would actually highly recommend it for beginners. Articulation is limited because it is a motorized kit, so don't be buying this kit if you're expecting to throw in some cool poses. It is a Takara Tomy kit, it is different. In addition, you also get a decent amount of extra accessories, and with how modular the kit is, you get a lot of customization options. All the while being a solid kit, which is very important if you're gonna just swap out the interchangeable parts all around. You don't want pieces and parts falling off while you're doing that. Did I also mention it could walk, so that's a cool little extra, I guess. I don't really care about the walking functions for these kits. It does have somewhat of an issue balancing itself while it walks, but it's part of the gimmick and it's neat to have. And all of that just costing more than 5,000 yen. Not a bad deal. And if you could get it cheaper, even better. So overall, I think it's a pretty good kit to get. I highly recommend it. But I completely understand if you don't like this type of kit. Not posable, but it's still a good display piece. Thanks again for watching my video, I hope you like it. I enjoyed making it. Let me know what you think. Would you get this kit? Why and why not? And if you already got it, what are your thoughts on it? This kit was pretty fun to review, so I look forward to reviewing the Beast Liger. Visually, that thing just looks absolutely crazy. This collab with Monster Hunter is pretty cool. I hope we continue getting more. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.